out here saying, go Rhonda, go Rhonda, go Rhonda. Yeah, you know why I'm saying go Rhonda? Because I am so late. I missed my Saturday live. I said I was going to go live, and I said I'm going to keep the promises that I make to me. But today I got behind, but I said go Rhonda, go Rhonda, go Rhonda, because guess what? Although I'm late, I still showed up. All right? And that's what it's all about. Guess what? Things happen, but gotta keep going, gotta keep moving forward. This is all about forward movement, forward motion, you know, despite what shows up, despite what happens, we're gonna what? Keep moving forward, keep moving forward. Look, I showed up. I am representing what? My HBCU. What? Yep. Listen, it is who? RhondazStylePage. I want to just come because I made a promise to what? To me. I made a promise to me. Until I keep the promises to myself, until I show up and I am comfortable from the top of my head until the soles of my feet, until you are comfortable from the top of your head until the soles of your feet, guess what? There is nothing that the world will ever be able to throw at you that you won't be able to what? Get up, dust yourself off, and keep moving to greatness. That's what greatness is. Greatness is knowing in the very second that when everything looks like it's not happening, I don't know what's next. I got to keep moving forward because there's nothing backward. You know, it's about progress. It's about being able to look in the mirror and say, you know what? I may not see what I know I see. See, when we close our eyes, we should see this picture of grandness, of greatness. We can see it when we close our eyes, when we're sleeping, because you know why? Because it's us right now. And what looks like is a puff of smoke or non-existent. That is the beauty. That's the beauty of hope. That's the beauty of faith. I just want to shout out my grandmother, Ella Mae McCollum. She was such a woman of faith. Listen, my scarf trying to come apart. Listen, let me tell you something. You don't have to see it. You don't have to have it, but you still have to know that's who we are. Listen, we attract what we are. We have to be what we say we are when we're asleep. We have to be what we say we are when it looks like we don't feel our best, when it looks like no one's showing up, when it looks like there's no one in our corner, when our corners are bare, when it looks like adversity is all around us, that nobody understands me. Like, why is no one understanding me? See, because when we're going from season to season and level to level, we're leaving the old us. It's like we're operating in new territory. So we will be misunderstood, or we may feel out of sorts. It's because we're becoming familiar with the new self, with the new strength, with the new grace, with the new strength, with the new might. It's all happening. it's new. Everything is new. It's supposed to feel like, God, what is going on? Like, what's going on? And you know what's going on? Destiny. Destiny is going on. And destiny is not man-made. Okay? He uses man to prepare us for greatness. Yes, he does. So the people, the relationships, even with family, you know, it's all working what? It's all working for our good. It's not happening to us. It is happening for us. That's what I want us to always remember. I remember when me and my sister, I always got all these stories. Me and my sister, I think we were probably, I don't know, 7, 8, 10, I don't know. My mom and my dad, my mom had finally said, you know, she was going to leave my dad. We were like, please leave him, Lord, leave him. Our father was the disciplinarian, okay? So, so we got, we lived in Greensboro, North Carolina, not far from A&T's campus in the white apartments. If you ever do homecoming in Greensboro, you know Homeland Apartments, the white apartments. We lived right across from the tennis court. My mother would get home every day, take off her work clothes, and go to the tennis court and just play tennis. It's like we saw her find a new life after she left my dad. And it was just so exciting to see, because for the first time, you know, we saw her kind of come into this new, powerful, amazing, happy woman. Like, she found a new life. She was like, she stayed because she thought, you know, they wanted to give us the family unit. And my dad is a great dad, always been a great provider. May he rest in peace. Love you, Dad. But yeah, and she was not the type of mother that ever said, y'all got to be in the house at this such a time. Now, we were probably maybe 7, 8, 9, 10, I don't know. We were, you know, we used to go to the Y. Shout out to the Y. Everybody that went to the YMCA in Greensboro, North Carolina. Yeah. Hey. See, that's when after school programs used to, you know, do all these great activities. I'm telling you, they prepared us. I promise you. But anyway, so when we would get home from school, we would be all over the city. I would be on A&T's campus in their labs. That's when A&T would have like rats in the labs. They didn't lock anything down. As kids, we would just roam the halls of A&T. You know, I would put pencils, you know, in the rat cages and watch them kind of gnaw at it. All over that. And look, who knew years later I would be hey, honorary A&T, yeah. So, you know, A&T prepared me in all kinds of ways. But I remember my mom was going to make a cake. And, you know, we realized that we didn't have any sugar. So we went over, so me and Vonda said, oh, we'll go over our friend's house. She lived right around the corner. And so that was during a time that we had screen doors. You left your door open, the screen door you could see in, you know. So we walked up to their screen door. It was summertime, and we knocked on the door. We knocked on the screen door, and we said, wanted to know if we could borrow a cup of sugar. We brought the empty cup. We brought the cup, and her mom, our friend's mom, had company. And you could hear her mom say, those girls ain't gonna grow up to be prostitutes. All they do is run the streets. They rip and run. Everywhere you see them, they just out walking all over the street. They mama let them go do anything. They're gonna grow up to be prostitutes. You know, they just streetwalkers. And we're standing right there at the door. So me and my sister was like, okay. So we didn't say anything. You know, they gave us the sugar. We was like, thank you. You know, we went on back home and gave it to our mom. We didn't even tell our mother what she said. We didn't. And then I had a cousin not long ago say to me, are you upset? Do you think your mom wasn't a good mom? I was like, why would you ask that? Because y'all, during the summers, me and my sister would go to Clinton, North Carolina. Now, Clinton, we had the gym. I'm telling you, we would just do everything. We had the rope. We called it the rope. We would jump off of the high benches and just swing all throughout the gym. And then, I'm telling you, it'd be like 10, 12, 20 of us jumping on the rope at one time. We were wild. Going to the pool, like we had a lot of friends. We had a lot of friends. And then that cousin, okay, I should have kind of, come on now. But yeah, whenever that cousin would try and hang out with us, she would get hurt. So, I can understand. We just always had a lot of friends. We were just always into a lot of things. And our mother really gave us that autonomy. We moved to Virginia Beach to go to junior high school. We had no family there. It was just me, my twin sister, and my mom, the three of us. My mom didn't know anyone. She had gotten a promotion with Xerox, and they moved us out there. My mom had a great job. We had this huge house. We didn't know anyone. And so after school, we would just walk. Vicky Suggs, that's how I met Vicky Suggs. Met her back in Greensboro years later, just walking, just out. Like, I walked for miles, so, and it's almost like God had to bless us with that type of mother that allowed us to be explorers, we had to be, for what God has called us to do, we couldn't be afraid of the world because of the situations that we had to learn and be acquainted with. We're people persons. I'm a people person. So, and I explore, we get out there. We weren't afraid of the world. And God had to give us the type of parents that allowed us the freedom to explore, so her mom, my cousin's mom, they were educators, so they kept her real close, and they were talking, Mom, go be free, go see the world, don't be afraid. Mom, I'm going down the street. Okay, what time you come back? We just knew when to come back. I remember this Christmas, I just talk, I don't care. So it was this Christmas, some of our friends were older than us, and they would stay out later than us. Well, this Christmas, we had gotten older, and our mom said, okay, I'm going to let y'all hang out with the older kids this time. So, so we were like, okay. So, it was, getting probably about 7 or 8 o'clock. So we were going to walk downtown Clinton, North Carolina. Santa had his mailbox there. And so we walked with our friend downtown. This was our first time, it was after dark, it was probably about 8 o'clock. All the street lights downtown were turned off. So we were like, okay, we get to hang out with, such and such. And so me and Vonda, we were, we walked all the way downtown with, such and such and such and such and such and such. And we got downtown. The novelty was like, there's Santa's mailbox. I put a letter in there. And so, all the street lights were out. And so we kind of, were standing around, and I looked at such and such. I said, all right, well, what y'all do? What do we do now? And they were like, we're just going to stand here for a minute, and then we're going to walk on further down, across town. I said, this what you just stand here, all the lights are out. Like, nothing, all the businesses were closed, nothing was open. It was just a dark downtown. I said, we just gonna stand on a corner? Yeah, and then we gonna walk across town. I said, the devil is, basically my mom like, I'm not getting ready to stand on no corner. Nothing's out. That was at the time we still had payphones. So I got on the payphone. I said, collect call from this, collect call. That's when they actually had live operators. So my grandmother picked up. Yes, I'll accept the call. I said, Mama, can y'all? And my mom was right there. Are they okay? I said, can you come get us? Because they just standing around. I'm not getting ready to stand on no corner. We on our way. My grandmother and my mama were there in less than 2 minutes. And they tried to persuade our friends who would, come on, let's, y'all don't just have to want to stand around. They were like, no, we good. We was out. We got in that car and we went home. I'm not getting ready to stand on that no corner. What? I knew at an early age what my grade was, what my level was. You know what I mean? Even though all of my aunts and uncles, they picked cotton before they went on to their successful careers. So we started at humble beginnings, but there was something in me that knew standing on a street corner, that ain't my call. This is a waste of time. What is this producing? Nothing. So, so it's like we gotta know that we know that we know that God has called us to greatness. I don't care what it look like. Don't give up. Don't give up. Because see, today I was supposed to do a live. I said I was going to do one every day. And then I got busy. And then I got sidetracked. But guess what? I said, I'm coming anyway. Coming anyway. Gonna do it anyway. So here I am. 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 But yeah, so I just want us to understand that what real greatness looks like. Real greatness, real power is humble. Real power, real greatness can sit in the back of the room and still be noticed and treated like it's front row. Because it's just a light that emanates from us. It's just a light. We attract what we are. I promise you. I'm in the back of the room, but I've always been a back. Okay, come on, Scar. I've always. Next time I'll tie it down. But I love my scarf. I love my scarf. I've always been comfortable in the back. I'm a background person. So that's just who I am. That's my comfort level. So, but, one thing about how you identify real power. I used to have this friend that I used to know. We would, if you go to the restaurant, she was the type of person, how she talks to our servers. What did I say? Like she needed to be seen. But real power is humble. Real power is kind. Real power prefers another over themselves. Listen, real power isn't afraid to be found to be wrong. It knows how to admit, okay, my bad. I'm wrong. That was my fault. That was my fault. Like my mom and my sister, I'm always good. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do it. Shut up with your sorries. They be so sick of me and my sorry. Because sorry is supposed to be, look, changed behavior. Yeah, it is. Okay, it is. But, until I get there, I'm going to say I'm sorry. It's not afraid to apologize. Real power doesn't mind being found wrong. It doesn't mind apologizing. I've known people, I don't care what the situation is, they not ever gonna say I'm sorry. They not gonna say, but for me, in my house, I'm gonna always say, if I think I've offended you, I'm gonna say I'm sorry. I'll say my bad. Okay, well I thought this and that. Okay, my bad. Because that's how I grow. I'm a communicator. So if I don't understand something don't make sense, I'm gonna bring it up to you. It's not because I'm challenging who you are. That's how I get to know who you are. Because I have to learn your thought process. You have to learn my thought process. The reason why I do something may be different from why you do a thing. So it's finding a middle ground. It's finding understanding. That's how we grow. Disagreements is even how we grow. Everybody ain't gonna be on the same page all the time. Not all the time. And that's okay. We have to allow each other, learn. This is how we learn. And most of the time, the people you have the most challenges with, we probably have the most in common. Our challenges are, and you know what, a lot of people, I talk about, look, I just jumped from one conversation to another. Yeah. But listen, a lot of people, envy and jealousy. Do you know those are natural feelings? Those are natural feelings. To see someone and be envious or jealous, the difference is that we're honest enough to admit, wait a minute, what is that, Rhonda? What is that? I see something in them that I wish I was, or something about them don't rub me the wrong way, but doesn't rub me the right way. Well, then what is it? Is it something, from my past that I haven't healed from? Or is it something that I identify that's where I used to be, and I recognize that's a part of the of how I used to, accept relationships. So it's all learning. I'm either learning that Rhonda has more to learn. That's why the challenge comes, or the conflict, or it's confirming. Oh, okay. I didn't react the same way. That I have grown, that I have matured past that place. So I think all emotions are necessary, but we have to really understand the triggers, how it shows up in our relationship, how it shows up in our work environment for me, how I respond. God is looking for our response. How do I respond? Do I respond because I'm trying to match energy? Because that says to me, I got some more growing to do. Because I allow you to trigger me to come down to an energy that I don't want to partake in. But I came outside of my comfort zone to meet you at your level. That means I'm immature. And then God used you to show, okay, Rhonda, you still got some areas you got to work on. Yeah, because God uses people, places, and things to show us either we've graduated or we still got work to do. And I ain't trying to go around the mountain no more. But anyway, but I wanted to kind of give you an example of what I mean. I was going out of town. Because I was going to leave out real early, I parked in front of the building. And when I came back from out of town, a gentleman said, hey, I saw someone hit your car before you left. He had recorded the time for me. I said, oh my gosh. And I noticed my light was out, but because it was so early in the morning, so I was able to call the police officer, and they came out and looked at the cameras. And when they looked at the cameras, we were able to see, exactly what had happened, who it was, when the person, that they were actually guest of my neighbors directly under me. So the officer said, well, we went to the door. The officer said, come with me. We're going to go to the door. And then the officer knocked on the door. And the officer had already seen the tapes with where my neighbors had let the people in, went to their apartments. They, because we have cameras throughout the hall, so everything. And so the husband and the wife, they were like, we don't know who that is. They didn't know he had already seen the tapes. We don't know anything. I don't know him. The wife was like, I don't know what you're talking about. And then the officer said, well, I saw the tapes with you, So, well, and it turned out to be their family. And ultimately, the husband and wife said, you know what, we're not going to give you their information. Now, these are pastors, my neighbors downstairs. And I said, officer, they're pastors. He looked at me and said, and then looked back at them, y'all are pastors? He said that to them. And they were like, he said, Rhonda, let's go. And so when we got outside, walking back to the office, he said, you know what, let me just say this to you. He said, unfortunately, I hate to say this, he said, but Christians are the worst. He said, every time I stop them, they give me the hardest time. They give me the hardest time. They either curse me out, and the first thing, well, I'm a Christian. I'm on my way to church. He said they're nasty. I kind of hated to hear that. But anyway, I want a walking pad from work. So, in the morning, sometimes I would get on a walking pad before I got to work, go to work to, work out. And so I got a call one day. This was after the whole situation. They never gave me the information. And the rental office said to me, Rhonda, your neighbors, they're in the office. They're listening to me make this call to you. They're right here as I'm talking to you. They've asked me to call you because they said when you're on your walking pad in the morning, it causes a lot of noise in their apartment. And I'm telling you, Rhonda, in front of them, as long as you're on the walking pad after 6 a.m., but not after 10 p.m., you're fine. You're within your bounds to use your walking pad as you choose. So she said, and I'm telling you this, and they're listening to me tell you this. Not after 10 p.m., but after 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. Okay. I said, okay. I said, and then I also commented, I said, I really tried to make a concerted effort not to make a lot of noise. I really did. I said, but okay. And so one morning I was going out of town again. I read my word. So I finished reading my word. I got up about 5 to read, and it was 6. It was 6 o'clock. So I went to go step on it was 6:01. I went to go step on my walking pad, and my Holy Ghost said, it's like the Holy Ghost said, what you doing? It's like the Holy Ghost said, what you think you doing? And then I kind of came to myself and said, the devil is a liar. Like, it's like my Holy Ghost said, you're not getting ready to get on that walking pad, and they have already complained that you make a lot of noise when you're on it. It was after 6 o'clock. The rental office told me in front of them, as long as it's after 6 a.m., I have the right to get on my walking pad. God said, yeah, it's right before man, but it's not right before me. God said, because a part of that is malice. God said, if they complained, why do it? Because listen, God said, I don't care what's right before man. Because what we have to understand is a lot of us give a verbal yes to man, but our heart is giving God a no. So I never want to be in the position that I'm giving a yes because it looks right, but my heart really isn't an agreement. See, because righteousness, it can't just be a yes indeed. It has righteousness, it has to align. So self-righteousness, there's righteousness and there's self-righteousness. Self-righteousness wants to look right in front of man. See, look. See, look what I did. See, look what I did. But God sees, Rhonda, if you want to get the validation from man, then don't look for validation from heaven. You already got it from man. So choose. But God said, it's not about doing what looks right. God said, you got to do what is right. So God said, in all things, do it in love. Do it in love. God said, love thy neighbor as ourselves. So that's what I'm that's what I'm really striving to do. And even though they chose not to give me the information, had I got on that walking pad, although I'm within my rights to get on my walking pad at 6 a.m. If I got on my walking pad at 6 a.m., after 6 a.m., there's nothing that man would say because I'm within my bounds. But I'm outside of the bounds of Christ. And so there's so much I'm praying for. There's so much I'm believing God for. Do you know, had I done that, that sticks me at that grade? I'm now I can't. I'm now deduced to that level. And no, I got too far to go. I've come too far to stop now. I can't. Up, I'm going up and higher. So I just can't. So we just have to be so mindful that our heart is also in alignment with God's perfect will. Not because it looks right, but because our heart is right. Because our heart lines up with the heart of Christ Jesus. In this hour, we are in the testing and trial of the Lord. Everything matters and everything counts. So let our responses, let the hidden thing, because God tests the hidden thoughts and desires of our heart. So, okay. All right, y'all. Rhonda, this is Rhonda. This is RhondazStylePage. I have talked your head off enough. Okay. Deuces. All right.